areas near the Horses and Hounds Scenic Byway up in northern Baltimore County. The amendment would put the focus of the affected areas on the areas near the Big Gunpowder Falls. The second amendment would, there's an exception that I believe BGE requested and that Mr. Catch concurred with, that would make the prohibitions on parking not apply to commercial vehicles owned or operated by the public utility as defined in state law, if the parking or standing is essential to the official use then being made of that vehicle. And then there's another amendment that would request that Public Works create signage along the area of the Big Gunpowder Falls affected by this act to note that the fine is $200. There's also an amendment that does change the fine from $150 to $200. And finally, there is a technical amendment really for the publisher that instructs the publisher that this act, if passed, will supersede the previous statute that did sunset at the end of this past year.
So, Madam Chair, the $153 fine is not in effect today because it had sunsetted. So, actually, I think it's $50 is the fine. And the problem is people, 4 people drive up, park illegally, and the driver collects $12.50 from each participant to pay the $50 fine. It's cheaper than going elsewhere. So, I hate to approach this problem in this way, but I don't know another way.
Councilor, is there any, has the state taken a look at finding a place to have people park who want to use this natural resource?
We're urging them to do so. When I was a delegate for the Hike Bike Trail along Paper Mill Road, the state did buy land and put a parking lot there. And the same thing needs to be done on different areas of the Hike Bike Trail and the Gunpowder. At the main headquarters on Moncton Road, where the station is, which is the headquarters for the Hike Bike Trail, there are a total of 10 parking places.
I mean, urging people to get out in nature, especially during COVID, and then to not have a place for families to park. I get all the other negative stuff that comes with it, but if we advertise a beautiful natural resource that we want people to use, we certainly should have a parking facility within walking distance of that resource. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And just to let you know what's happened, last year, the first 6 months of last year, 267,000 people used the Hike Bike Trail. The same period of time this year, 650,000. So we're talking about nearly triple the use over last year. So it's really imperative that the state does provide some parking facilities so that we can provide parking for people so that they can use these wonderful resources. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So was the amendment correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, we need a motion and a second on the amendment.
I think Ms. Rogers wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Rogers.
I can wait until after the motion.
She's printing the signs now.
Okay. Wade, you want to move that at your?
I'll move the bill.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to 66-20.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
He's muted.
No, he's having an issue. He's swirling.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Okay, the amendment to Bill 66-20 is passed. Do I have a motion?
I move the bill.
Okay, I'll second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 6620 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Okay, Bill 6620 has passed.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
And Ms. Rogers, you had something to say?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to say to Councilmember Cash and to all of our council persons looking at this issue across the county, we are prepared to work closely with you because it's multifaceted. We are engaging all parts of the government that can play a role in helping us to address these issues, to protect our parklands. So know that we look forward to working with you. Signage, working with the state, looking at what we can do to help educate people about Take Your Trash With You initiative that we have in place. Actually, the state has it in place and we have it in place. Some places it's working better than others, but we absolutely want to protect these natural resources and precious areas for families. So definitely looking forward. The whole team is looking forward to working with you.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Madam Chair, next is Bill 67-20. This is a bill sponsored by Councilman Marks, Design Review Areas.
Okay, and
Thank you.
there's an amendment.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Marks, the amendment first, or do you wish to discuss the bill?
I'll discuss the bill. Bill 6720 will require the design review panel to review development in an area of the York Road corridor that includes Annesley, Stoneley, and Rogers Forge. The amendment would actually extend the area up to Townsendtown Boulevard. Among other things, the bill prohibits drive-through facilities except banks, and it would also require the DRP to review new construction plans. This will give the community an opportunity to testify on proposals within this corridor. If you've been to this part of Baltimore County, this is a very walkable, very small town atmosphere. The community wants to retain that, and I look forward to working with the community on future initiatives as we seek to retain the charm of this part of town.
And just to follow up, the amendment that Mr. Marks is sponsoring, as he alluded to, it amends the original map that was with the bill. It amends that map to delete that map and substitute a map dated July 23rd, 2020, which would then be attached to the bill as Exhibit A. And the amendment also would make it clear that the Baltimore County Council may designate areas of the county in which developments are subject to review by the design review panel and list those areas and not just development plans.
Okay. Do we have a motion to move the amendment to 6720?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 67-20's amendment.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Okay, the amendment has passed to 6720. Do we have a motion to move the 6720 as amended?
I'll move it.
Second.
I'll second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 67-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Okay, Bill 67-20 is passed as amended. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next is Bill 68-20, also sponsored by Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, enterprise signs.
Councilor Marks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill 6820 amends the table of sign regulations as set forth in Section 450.4 of the Baltimore County zoning regulations. Specifically, the bill amends the table to permit 4 structural types of enterprise signs in the RO zone with additional restrictions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Marks? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 68-20.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Bill 69-20 is, oh, I'm sorry, Bill 68-20 is passed.
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, next is Bill 69-20. This is sponsored by Councilman Jones, zoning regulations, manufacturing light zone use regulations.
Councilman Jones?
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, this is a bill that does some tweaking in the manufacturing zone that enables a auto detailer to open up shop in Owings Mills on Red Run Boulevard.
Any comments or questions from the members? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, is there a motion to, oh, no, that's ready. Is there a motion to call the roll on 69-20?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 69-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Bill 69-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next, Madam Chair, is Bill 70-20, sponsored by Council Members Marks, Quirk, Bevins, Crandall, and Catch, Office of Ethics and Accountability.
Okay. Councilor Marks, you want to take this?
Sure. Thank you very much. Bill 70-20 retitles the head of the Office of Ethics and Accountability to the position of Inspector General. There are a number of reasons why this makes sense. First, it's simplicity. Most citizens, I think, know what an Inspector General does. The second is the fact that the counterparts to this office, both regionally and nationally, are known by that designation. So for that reason, I'm submitting this bill, and I thank the co-sponsors.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's just a smart way to do business in Baltimore County.
Chair,
Yes. Who's that?
this
Patoka?
yes, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Very well.
Not to be left behind,
There
Madam
you
Chair.
go.
Here we go. Councilor Jones,
Yes, he will be added.
you want to be
Thank-
added to the bill?
Yes.
Mr. Secretary, please add Councilman Jones to the bill.
Yes, ma'am, that would make it all council.
Yay!
Madam Chair, the amendment that is before you as well to this bill is really a technical amendment. It just really sets forth some uncodified language that will allow for the continuity of the office to go from the Office of Ethics and Accountability to the Office of the Inspector General with nothing falling between the cracks. And because it was written by a lawyer, it takes 3 paragraphs to do that.
You attorneys. See, Ms. Madigan is with us and watching this evening, and she has a big smile on her face. Yeah, oh, we haven't voted yet, so hold on to your smile for a second.
Can I just say that I didn't write the amendment, though?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do I have a motion to move the
So
amendment?
moved. So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to 70-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Okay. The amendment to 70-20 has passed. Is there a motion to approve 70-20 as amended?
So moved.
Second? Mr. Secretary, please call the
Second.
roll on Bill 70-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Bill 70-20 as amended has passed. Ms. Madigan, make us proud. Go find all the fraud.
I sure will. And Councilman Bevins, thank you, and members of the council. And again, no saluting, but thank you very much. I think this will be very helpful going forward.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Madam Chair, the next bill before you is Bill 71-20. This is a bill sponsored by Councilman Marks, Capital Improvement Contracts.
Okay.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you. This bill would prohibit the shutoff of water by contractors working on capital improvement projects unless they agree to provide 72 hours notice to residents in the area when the temperature is expected to hit a certain temperature. There are some exceptions. The Director of Public Works, for example, can waive this requirement if it's an emergency. This was prompted by an episode in the Perry Hall area in June where hundreds of residents found themselves without water with weather approaching 90 degrees. I did some research. I found out that there really was nothing in the code dealing with this, and I thought it should be something that was addressed. There is an amendment that is going to allow for any contractor accused of this to have an appeals process, and that's something we worked with the administration on.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to move the amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to 71-20.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
The amendment passes to 71-20. Is there now a motion to move the bill as amended?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 71-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
Okay, amendment, what was that? 71-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Madam Secretary, Bill 72-20 was withdrawn by the sponsor prior to the meeting, and the next is 73-20, sponsored by Councilman Jones, Police Department, Police Reform.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Quirk?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to move to table, and I'd like to explain my reasoning. The first is Speaker Adrian Jones' work group still is meeting. She's had two work group meetings, and we'll have another meeting soon. Secondly, the state's attorneys from around the state will convene, and they'll look at this issue, and they'll be making recommendations, so I look forward to that. Three, I do have confidence in our chief of police and our county executive, and they've already made many reforms. And so we have a letter from the chief dated July 31st, 2020. I'd like to review a few of these reforms because I think it's important for the public to know. And I'll be brief but quick. Under the leadership of our chief, Melissa Hyatt, they've created a director of accountability and compliance, similar to an inspector general, created a director of diversity and inclusion, created a professional standards bureau. They're bringing in nationally recognized training programs on fair and impartial policing that will be mandatory for all employees. They're conducting a staffing study. It's been 10 years since an assessment, so we look forward to those results. They're initiating an independent comprehensive review of hiring and recruitment practices. In addition, they're also are having a newly reorganized Community and Support Services Bureau and developing a department-wide relations policing plan. They're building police dashboards that will include the number and number of issues and complaints, use of force, traffic stop data broken down by race. They've expanded the scope of the work group on equitable policing. And they've also, which I think is really important, added to department policies, expressly stated concepts on sanctity of life, the duty to intervene and report excessive or unnecessary use of force, and the importance of constitutional policing. And so those are some of the actions that have been taken by the Chief of Police so far. And I do have confidence in our Chief of Police and our county executive on the actions that have been taken. Additionally, I also have confidence in our state's attorney, Scott Schellenberger, who's expressed very clearly concerns about this bill. And I do have a lot of confidence with Scott Schellenberger, our state's attorney. And I do look forward to the state's attorneys meeting around the state, once again, for their recommendations. And a fifth reason is that came in earlier today was the Blue Guardians. The Blue Guardians have decided not to support Bill 73-20 at this time. The board members concluded that the bill would be more effective at the state level and not at the Baltimore County level. They'd be willing to revisit the discussion of Bill 73-20 in the spring with some suggestions and modifications after any action is taken at the state level. And they also quoted that they want to ensure that the county bill has balance between protecting and serving the citizens of our county while ensuring fairness and safety of our police officers. So those are 5 reasons why I think we should table this bill. And again, I move to table.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Councilor Marks is the second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Madam Chair.
Discussion.
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
yes.
First of all, let me thank Councilman Quirk for all of his diligence on the bill. Let me say this. I have never seen more community support for a measure in my entire history here on the County Council. It was clear during the 6 hours of testimony that the citizens of Baltimore County are very interested in police reform. You're talking about over 50 citizens stand on the line for 6 hours to have their 2-minute say to be a part of this process. Right now, as I'm talking to you, there's over 180 people on the line watching us as a body to see what are we going to do. Are we going to listen to the citizens of Baltimore County who is demanding police reform? Are we going to listen to the insiders who got us here in the first place? The fact of the matter is, during the work session, over 50 people testified. Every citizen told their story as to why we should have police reform. The only people in opposition was the police chief.
Jones, with all
Yes.
due respect, you can save your remarks for later, but when there's a motion, it's not debatable. So we have to do the roll on the motion first.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I comment on the motion itself?
I'm just going by the rules. When there's a table, when there's a motion to table in a second, we have to vote, and then everybody can have their say. So, Mr. Secretary, can we please have the vote on motion to table? We have a motion and a second.
And that is correct, Madam Chair. Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Explaining my vote, no, I believe that there are parts of this bill that are good, that will be beneficial to the police department, to the administration, and that is why I'm voting no. I have complete confidence in our police department and want to do whatever is necessary to strengthen them and make sure our police know that we do support them as a county government. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
I too would like to vote no the strongest way. I think this is a disgrace on our council tonight. It is an absolutely disgrace that we would table this bill. In fact, it was in 2018 when Councilman Quirk was so worked up about a dog named Oscar, he introduced legislation to change the law. We as a body came together and changed the legislation to change the law to protect future Oscars. Well, where is the law to protect future Corinne Gaines or future Eric Sops?
Councilman
The list can go on and on. So my answer is no, in the strongest way.
Okay, thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Patoka?
I vote no. We were all, each of us, all 7 of us were elected to lead, to make tough votes, not to follow, not to table. Who here campaigned on tabling issues? Anybody? I didn't. We should have the strength and the leadership capabilities to make these tough votes. So I vote no. Let's lead, let's not follow, let's not table. Thank you.
Was that the last vote, Mr. Bostwick?
Yes, Madam Chair, that was the vote to table is the last vote, and so the bill is now on the table. It's up to you whether you wish to allow any further discussion about it.
Yes, I want to give everybody ample time. Certainly I do. And I'm sure everybody has something to say. I disagree wholeheartedly with Councilman Batoka, and I'll tell you why. This has been a very difficult vote for me, and I have expressed that. First, let me just start by saying that I have the utmost respect for Councilman Jones, and I'm looking at him right now, and I hope he still believes that even after this table. I have the utmost respect for him. I know the work that he put in to this bill. I represent a district that they both feel each way. They want to support their police, but then they also want things changed within the police department. And I understand that. So they're 50% feel one way and 50% feel another way. I have to keep reminding myself that the state that the nation is in right now is in a terrible state, not just COVID, but with the protests and what is going on between communities and police. And I constantly remind myself that George Floyd was not murdered by a Baltimore County police officer. He was not murdered by one of our officers. We have one of the largest police departments. We rank 19th in the entire nation. And they are sworn to protect and serve around 900,000 of us. So when you look at the incidents, and there shouldn't be one incident. There shouldn't be one incident. But when you look at what our Baltimore County Police Department is successful at, yes, there's always room for improvement. And the chief knows that. We talked about that today. I've talked about that with the county executive. There's all kinds of things that we can improve on. I think that Chief Hyatt is taking us in that direction. And I certainly believe that the county executive is taking us in that direction. And that's why we don't have the good old boys club in the Baltimore County Police Department anymore. I believe that every time a citizen of Baltimore County has an encounter with one of our police officers, no matter what part of the district they are in, they should arrive home safe and unharmed. Even if they are going to the detention center, they should arrive there safe and unharmed, no matter what their charge is. And I also believe very firmly that each and every police officer that goes out every single day or night should also arrive home safely. I want that for all parties. Annapolis is now looking at this. I would like to see a statewide law changed, not just Baltimore County. We should have the state police, all sheriff's department, all county police officers, all 23 jurisdictions and Baltimore City with the same laws. We shouldn't have police officers being able to do a certain procedure or follow a different policy because of the county that we're in. Whether you're in Howard County, Harford County, Prince George's County, or Baltimore City, or Baltimore County, we should all be following the same rules when it comes to people, no matter what the color of your skin is. I represent people of color, brown, black. I live in a community that is full of diversity, and I do know that there have been times in the past that these have been huge issues with profiling and treating people of color differently. And we know that that does exist within our police department. But there have been so many steps taken to overcome that. And I want the state to make this decision statewide. The more I looked at this bill, it was a lot in this bill. And up until today, it was just gutted. It was just gutted. And different things were taken out. Some things I was happy that were taken out. Councilman Cash and I spoke for almost a half an hour with Councilman Jones on things that we wanted to see taken out of this bill. And he was willing. The councilman was willing to let go of things that were important to him. And because there were so many other things that were important to him here as well. And the more that this got gutted and the more that I had to read it, it became more confusing to me and more confusing to me. As far as the comment from Councilman Batoka, tabling is a process. It's not about being elected to table things. I want this tabled, and I talked to Councilman Jones about it. I talked to you about it today. It is no secret. I wanted this bill tabled thoughtfully so we could come back as a council and spend more time on it to make sure that it makes sense for our police department and the citizens that they are protecting. And I wanted the state to pull that all together first. This isn't a table that I don't believe in anything that's in Councilman Jones's bill. I believe in a lot of what's in this bill, but there was so much gutted out of it, I just can't, I can't comprehend it. So my table was suggested so we could reintroduce this bill at a later time and really work on it as a council, not to just dismiss it. And I was elected to make those types of decisions. And unfortunately, out of 7 of us, this wasn't one that we could all come together with. So I'm ashamed. I mean, I'm ashamed that you had said that we're not doing our jobs by tabling something. That is a process that we are allowed to do on the county council. And it's not being dismissive of anything that's in this bill. I want this bill to make a difference. I don't want this bill passed just so we can say, oh, look what we did. We passed this. If this bill doesn't make a difference in somebody's life, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. So if we are going to do this, we need to do it more thoughtfully. And I do appreciate the work that this state's attorney, Scott Schellenberger, has put into this, and that the county executive has, and now Adrian Jones and our legislators. I want this to be a partnership, and so we can all get on board with the same thing, and we can pass this and it make a difference in people's lives. So no one ever has to question again the treatment that they got from a police officer in Baltimore County. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I don't understand the version that was circulated today was never submitted as an amendment. And if it was, I'm not aware that it was submitted as an amendment. And so right now, what we have on the table is Councilman Jones's legislation and the 2 amended components that I submitted. So the gutted version is really has never been submitted, so is therefore not part of our discussion.
It was submitted.
Who submitted it?
It was in the original bill.
The gutted version, was
Well,
that
do you have-
submitted as an amendment?
What gutted versions you're talking about?
The version that was circulated this afternoon
Okay,
that was discussed. Was that submitted to the secretary as an amendment?
Well, you have to ask the secretary that.
Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Patoka, those amendments were not, the amendments that were to be considered, that was given to you this afternoon, I believe by Councilman Marks, they were not circulated per se, and I would defer to the council members to discuss, what was being considered and what wasn't.
So we're talking about something that was gutted that has never been submitted to this council for review.
Well,
right now what's on the table is Councilman Jones's bill.
Well, if you would like to go through this line by line with David Marks and us.
Madam Chair, can I jump in here?
Yes, certainly.
I am constantly hearing from people, and particularly in Towson, about late amendments. Late amendments. They don't like seeing late amendments. It's not transparent, it's not open, it's not public. What I gave you all was a compilation of changes that other stakeholders had given me. We consulted with the chief of police, who works for a Democratic county executive, the state's attorney, who is a Democrat. We consulted with Fraternal Order Police, a lot of people. And what I gave you was a compilation of changes. At 3 o'clock today, how in the world can we vote on this bill based on changes at 3 o'clock? Like I said, I'm constantly it's being told we're rushing things, and it's not transparent, it's not open. We ran out the clock on this one.
Right.
And I told folks, we should wait on this. Perhaps the bill can be reintroduced and we can talk about it then. But if you're someone who supported that original bill, it wasn't going to look a lot like it did when it was introduced. So that's why I never introduced it, was because we were talking about this 3 hours before right now, and not a lot of time to discuss it and to circulate it with our constituents.
Madam Chair.
I agree with you, Councilor Marks. I mean, at the beginning of the meeting, we talked about where 4 of us were today, and I had asked that if we could go to the training academy, and it just so happened we didn't get fit into today. So the timing was, the bill was tonight and getting in there today. But I was so intrigued by the bill, concerned about some of the things that have happened, the protests, things that people were saying. I wanted us to see that training first, close up and personal, and we did. And we were actually put in scenarios with fake guns, with situations, and I feel even more confident about my vote now after going through that, because to make those decisions when people I actually got shot 5 times today in my, virtual world at the police training. I would never want to legislate something that a police officer has to go, well, do I have A, B, C, D, and E? Did I do all that? And in that split moment, he loses his life. And I saw how quickly today, and I know you all did too, David and Izzy and Councilman Jones, I saw how quickly that could turn from somebody that you de-escalated, right? And now you're on talking terms with, and you think you've calmed the whole thing down. And then guess what? They pull a gun out from behind a pillow and shot my head off. So the police are put in these serious predicaments, situations. Yes, it's part of their job, but I don't want them second guessing themselves. And if a chokehold, of course, we don't want anybody to die from a chokehold, and we don't want anybody to die from any kind of force that is used on somebody. But when you have somebody that has, especially if the police officer has witnessed them shooting someone, kidnapping someone, raping someone, and they are trying to arrest this person, they're going to use force. And if they don't, they could die. And that's what I got out of today. And I totally agree with you, David. All this last minute phone calls. I have 28 phone calls today that I received just from members and other interested parties saying, what's going to happen here? Are there going to be amendments? What are you doing? Who's voting for it? Who's not voting for it? So last minute. We were still at the academy at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I was still on the phone at 6 o'clock. The meeting's supposed to start at 6. So don't think for 1 minute that I am dismissing my duties as a councilwoman, because I have stood proudly for 10 years representing my district, Mr. Patoka. I don't need you to tell me what I'm doing or not doing in my job. That is very just rude of you.
We've had the bill for
And I'm
months.
wondering, if I wasn't a female, if you would even have the guts to say that to me. I just wonder about that.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, Councilman Catch.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the conversation that we had earlier today, and I'm the one that asked Mr. Bostwick to give me a copy of the bill with the amendments folded in. The reason why I would have liked to have considered parts of this bill is I think that there were two parts that would have been very beneficial to our police. Number one is the part where if you have a police officer who resigned from another police department because of some problems, that in this legislation, we had a way to deal with that, which I think would have been beneficial to our police force, because we don't want rejected officers, so to speak. But the second and most important part that I think we could have passed today that would have been so helpful to our police officers is the enhanced training, the training in the latest in regard to de-escalation, etc. So they're the parts of the bill that, it's a shame that we didn't get a chance to vote on it. Madam Chair and members of the council, I know, I've said this many times before, but I wish, and I didn't suggest it this time, so, I share some of the blame, but this really needed a work group or a subcommittee to sit down and flush this out, because, I brag about our police all the time. And I really believe that they're doing a phenomenal job. And anything that I can do to make their job easier and to help them do a better job, I want to be there, and I want to be an advocate for that. So, I regret we aren't voting on this, but, I understand why people voted the way they did. And I hope that, we're going to not forget the parts of this bill that we can do immediately and that will be helpful to our police. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we did consider a conversation with Councilman Jones this afternoon. And that's something me and you don't have a lot of, so I certainly appreciated that. And that's true, and everybody knows it. And it's just a really tough place for me, because, I want to give the police every tool that they need to protect the citizens in our county. And I also want everybody to go home safely, even the criminals. I want them to go home unharmed or to jail unharmed. No one deserves to die. No one deserves that being in custody. So there were some good parts of this bill. I did not table this bill because I don't care. I'm looking at some of the comments. I do care about Black Lives Matter. I care about all lives. And the reason the bill was tabled on my part was just because it was too confusing. It was too much, too late, too little, too late. And I would have liked more time on the bill. And I even recommended to Councilman Jones that if he wanted to reintroduce it at a later time and reintroduce it, and then us do the 65-day on it and have a longer time to discuss it, I was open to that too. So I have really made all kinds of suggestions and opened myself up to a lot of discussions with folks. So I'm okay with my vote.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair?
Who's
Madam
that?
Chair?
Yes,
Councilman Quirk?
yes, Councilman.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just wanted to just respond to Councilman Catch on his suggestion about a work group, because that's exactly what's happening right now in Annapolis under the leadership of Speaker Adrian Jones, who I've been in communication with. And so there's a very diligent work group that are looking at a lot of these details at the state level. And again, the state's attorneys around the state are going to be meeting to review and make recommendations. So candidly, Madam Chairwoman, I completely agree with you. This bill became so confusing about, well, what are we keeping and what are we not, coming down to the last moment without consensus. And I think there's a lot more to work through on this one. And I think that's important that we do this in a careful, diligent way. And I'm very confident, once again, in our Speaker of the House, Adrian Jones, our State Attorney, Scott Schellenberger, our County Executive, and our Chief of Police. And I think the council did the right move by tabling this to give this more time and spend more detail and discussion when the emotions simmer down as well, to look at this another time.
Thank you, Councilman Quirk. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Who was that? Councilman Toga, yes?
Yeah, so just to your point about gender, Councilman Quirk is the member who introduced the tabling. And so I'm not sure why gender is relevant in this discussion.
Relevant to me, and that's all you need to know. It's relevant to me because this isn't the first time, and I'm about sick of it. Anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Jones. I'd love to hear from you.
thank you so much. I must say I'm somewhat shocked that we would be tabling this bill. You know, I guess.
That isn't true because I told you that this bill, the likelihood would be that it was going to be tabled this evening. We
Well,
had that discussion this afternoon.
That is true, but you also participated in a conversation with Councilman Catch and I as we went line through line and tried to make some amendments that would be acceptable to everyone. And you did say, don't count you in as a vote, but I certainly thought the participation was a good one. And I thought that at the end of the day, when we agreed to something we all could live with, that would be enough. Getting back to being sort of shocked. As I said before, I never seen an issue garner this much public support. Never, since we've been here. And right now, like I said, there's 170, 180 people on the line watching us to see what we're going to do. And it sort of reminds me of when I was growing up, and the girl's going to break up with me, and she says, "It's not you, it's me. I just can't take it. You're such a great guy, and I'm such a tough." Yeah. That's supposed to make you feel better, but at the end of the day, you're dumped just the same. So here we are today, looking at the largest protest in our history in recent years. I've gone to protests all over Baltimore County, from Hereford Zone, where there was, to Dundalk, to Turner Station, to Catonsville, to you name it, Parkville, all over Baltimore County, and countless times at Towson. People are standing up saying they want some reform. Now, believe it or not, some of them wanted me to go further than I went in the reform. Some people didn't think we went far enough. Some people went so far as to say, "Can you promise me you will not vote on an amendment without bringing it back?" And I said then, and I say it now, the legislative process sometimes doesn't look so clean. And sometimes you have to make compromises to get things done. When you need somebody's vote and they say, "I'm not going to do it unless this happens," then you have to make a decision. Either you're going to do it or you're not. So here we are right now. Let me just take this opportunity to just tell everybody the reason we had the bill in the first place. It's clear that the community wants this bill. That is without a doubt. The second part of that is this bill would have been good for the police officers, who I have nothing but the utmost respect and admiration for, and it would have been good for the citizens, the people we serve. This bill would have reduced the likelihood of violence between the police and the citizens. It would have reduced the likelihood of deadly force ever having to be used, which is good for the citizen. It's good for the police officer, who, like I said today, more police officers will kill themselves in the line of duty than will be killed in the line of duty. More people kill themselves than will be killed in the line of duty. And what we can do is do our best to try to reduce that stress. And this bill would have done that by reducing the likelihood of violence. I wanted to really take what I consider to be a very good police department and make it better. The fact of the matter is, this is a fact of life and it doesn't change. In order to get better, in order to do better, I don't care if you're talking about a sport, whether you're learning to play an instrument, or whether you're making legislation or running a police department or fire department. You have to be able to
Hold on, everybody, can a few people turn their mics off? Maybe, I think we're having interference. Councilman Jones?
Yes, I'm sorry about that, but the point I was making is it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it be run a police department, run a fire department, learn how to play a sport, whatever the task is, you cannot get better and do better unless you're willing to accept some constructive criticism. If all you have is cheerleaders, if all you have is people standing around you talking about how great you are, there's no reason for you to strive to do better. So yes, I recognize our police department is a very good one, but that doesn't take away from the fact that in 2019, Baltimore County Police Department killed more people than any other police department in the state of Maryland, including the state police.
Wait a minute, Julian, we talked about this earlier, but how did they die? They didn't die by chokeholds. I asked you how many of them died by force like that, and you said, I don't know.
Well,
19 people were killed by police officers. Maybe they were justified shootings. Were they?
Well, Madam Chair, the point I'm trying to make is...
No, I want to know if 19 citizens of Baltimore County, if they were killed by police officers, how were they killed?
Well, Madam Chair...
Because they were robbing a bank? Because they killed somebody? Or was it from unjustified force? Because that's what we are talking about, unjustified force. Well, a police officer using that on a citizen of Baltimore County. So,
Madam Chair...
if 19 of them were justified force by the police officer.
Madam Chair, the point I'm trying to make, and it really doesn't matter whether you consider it justified or unjustified.
It does. If somebody's coming towards me with a gun and I'm a police officer, I shoot them before they shoot me. That's a justified killing on the department's behalf, right? That's justified. Someone's coming with you. You did it today. If somebody has a gun and they go to point it at you, you better be able to click faster than them, or the cop's going to die, correct? Let's have this conversation.
Okay, Madam Chair. The point I was trying to make, not to get into all the details of the people that were killed. I'm comparing apples, but I'm comparing apples to apples. I'm comparing Baltimore County Police Department with Montgomery County Police Department. They have 500,000 more people and about another 30,000 more calls for service. I'm comparing Baltimore County Police Department with Prince George's County. that have another 250,000 citizens and another 25,000 calls for service. The point I was trying to get to was not just in 2019, but if we go back in the last 6 years, you have Prince George's County having 18,000 deaths at the hands of the police. You have Montgomery County, the largest jurisdiction in the state, having 10 deaths at the hands of police. And then you come to Baltimore County and we have 31 deaths at the hands of police. So whether they justified or unjustified, it can't be that we can be so unlucky to have this type of crime. What you're looking at is a systemic problem in how our police officers apply deadly force. Now, if we take it a step further and walk away from the
Well, let's talk about Amy Caprio then. Let's talk about Amy Caprio. Was that a justified homicide? Somebody tried to run her over, and guess what? They were successful, and she died. They're alive. She's dead. Was that justified on the behalf of the criminal? A criminal took her life. Now,
Madam Chair?
if another officer would have shot him, would that have been okay?
Madam Chair.
That would be justified. They took the life of a police officer.
Madam Chair, there's no question in my mind that was a very tragic situation with Officer Caprio.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to stand here and somehow debate a very tragic situation as to whether or not she could have done something better or not. And, you know, Scott Schellenberger said the other day she basically hesitated, and that's why I'm not going to get into that because that's not fair to her. I went there to the hospital, myself and Councilman Marks. We saw the family. We talked to the family. It was very, very tragic. And I certainly mourn for her and pray for her and her family. It was terrible. And believe me when I tell you, I'm not going to say anything less than it was a terrible situation. But let's not ever forget about the other people who have died at the hands of...
I have forgotten about the people. And look, I'm just going to say, Councilman Jones, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the council members. I appreciate the people that are out there peacefully protesting, and I hope they continue to peacefully protest. This bill has been tabled, and there is never supposed to be a discussion on it once it was tabled. So now we're going to move on. The council has now...
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I haven't finished my comments. And I would really indulge you.
On a tabled bill, and we're not supposed to do that.
Madam Chair, I would really indulge you to give me an opportunity to finish my comments. I didn't have a chance to finish because you interrupted me.
Because you're not supposed to be talking after a bill is tabled.
Madam Chair, you gave us an opportunity.
There's no discussion after a bill is tabled.
Madam Chair, it's customary that we give the council members an opportunity to talk. I listened to everyone else talk, and all I'm asking for...
Vote on a tabled bill.
No, I guess listen to everybody talk. They had their point of view, and I was listening.
Okay.
The point I'm making is even if we go into the money, right? $38 million lawsuit hanging out there because an Officer Ruby shot Corinne Gaines. A jury. The department had no problem with it. They saw no issue with it. Scott Schellenberger saw no issue with it. But when it came before the citizens of Baltimore County, they said that was a horrible, egregious act, and they put us on a ticket for $38 million. In the last 5 years, Baltimore County has had 71 excessive force claims brought against it. We settled 22 for $3.5 million, $3.5 million taxpayer dollars. And we have the $38 million under appeal, and we have 49 more cases waiting to be adjudicated. 49 more cases. So we can do better, and has no reflection on any individual officer. It's just that as a system, we can do better. But we're part of the problem if we're not asking them to do better. So in closing, let me just thank everyone who waited online for 6 hours to testify, to get your 2 minutes. Let me thank all the citizens who testified. Let me also thank my colleagues for listening, being fair-minded, and listening to the commentary from the citizens for 2 hours, no, 6 hours, I think it was. And then let me just take this opportunity to thank all the organizations that sent in letters of support. I'll start with the biggest ones out, or not an organization, but U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Congressman Kweisi Ifume, Jews United for Justice, 1199 SEIU, Catonsville Youth, Black Lives Matter, Baltimore County Youth Speaks, Bridge of Maryland, Progressive Maryland, Justice Task Force, Council of American Islamic Relations, Baltimore County Justice Coalition, Indivisible Towson, Turner Station Conservation Team, Baltimore County Progressives, Black Lives Matter in Hereford Zone, Southwest Baltimore County Democratic Club, including Councilman Batoka, Senator Charles Sinor, State Senator Shelley Heddleman, Delegate Pat Young, Delegate Sheila Ruth, former members of the board, and the list goes on and on and on. So we appreciate the 185 or 190 letters or emails and countless calls. So it's clear to me that the citizens wanted something to happen. I thought I did a very good job of showing everyone why it's important that we had the legislation. This bill was never about anti-police legislation. It was always about doing what was in the best interest of the police department and the citizens of Baltimore County. That's what it's always been about. So I thank you for your time, and Madam Chair, I certainly appreciate you giving me an opportunity to finish my comment and to basically cut it off. I'm gonna cut it off. Like I said before, in 2018, we passed a bill to protect Oscar, a dog who froze in the snow. He was 100 years old. He went outside and never came back in, and we passed the bill. And today we're looking at citizens, Corinne Gaines, Chris Brown, and many others who have died, and yet we are failing to take an action, which is sort of a shame on our part. So thank you very much. And thank everybody for watching.
Councilman Jones, I would just like to say that we wanted to pass this bill. Many of us wanted to pass this bill. I'll just remind you of that. We wanted to pass this bill, and it's always about compromise in this job sometimes. And there still will be time to work on this on the state level, and I hope that it's soon, and I hope that very soon everyone in the state will have, all the police, sheriff, corrections, and state police will have the same rules to abide by.
Madam Chair, all due respect, the United States Congress is taking up police reform. So they're at 100,000 feet level, and they're going to do something or they're not. And then the state of Maryland is looking at police reform. I spoke to Delegate or Speaker Adrian Jones this morning, and they are going to be operating at a 50 feet level. They're going to do things that will transcend the state. That does not advocate or take away from our responsibility to have laws here in Baltimore County. Today, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, and others are all taking up police reform legislation because it is their duty and their right to do so. We have many laws in Baltimore County that's not the same in Howard County.
Just did that, Councilman. The county executive just went through that reform, and he has initiatives and policies going in place. So, you know, for us as a council, we should have been working with the county executive to do that instead of having a separate bill. You know, we could keep going on and on about this, but obviously people listening, you know, I'm looking at some of the comments and like, how dare you silence a black man? Now, you know, we are friends, and I was silencing you not because you're a black man, because you are beyond the rules, Robert's rules of this meeting. This meeting, when a bill is tabled, there is to be no discussion. I've already had 3 council people text me that. Why is he talking? Why is he allowed to talk? The bill is tabled. No one is allowed to talk. I know that, and you know that, but someone else sees me as silencing a black man, and the comments get ruder and ruder and ruder. I mean, that's not what I'm doing. You have talked when no other council person has ever been allowed to talk when a bill has been tabled. Absolutely.
Madam Chair, I always thought we allowed people to talk after we tabled bills.
No, we don't. Once the bill is tabled, there is no discussion. Or, Mr. Secretary, am I wrong? Can you clear this up? Because if I'm wrong, you know I'm the first one to say, my bad.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm not talking about the rules.
No, but Tom,
I'm just
Mr.
talking about the courtesies we extend to one another.
See, Mr. Secretary?
Madam Chair, you are correct that a motion to table is not debatable.
Can I get, I mean,
But what I would say is, and I'm not trying to have it both ways or anything, but it's not debatable. But then it is up to you and the council, on whether or not to, allow the privilege to speak thereafter. Members all the time say, Madam Chair, point of preference or whatever the right words are. So, you allowed as a courtesy the members to speak, and it's your prerogative in order to move on as to when to say, okay, enough is enough.
yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, let me just say this. I appreciate the county executive, and I certainly appreciate the police chief and their initiatives. But to be clear, those are policies and procedures. And as fast as they were put in place, they can be removed. This is a law. It has a little more staying power because you have to have a process such as this, where the public has a right to participate. Now, I take somewhat exception to the fact that you say I should have worked with the county executive. Fact of the matter is, I talked to the county executive before the bill was ever introduced and said to him, hey, let's work together. He said, okay. So I gave him the bill before I put it out there on a press conference. I gave it to the police chief. I gave it to everyone. Scott, I gave it to everybody who wanted it. And we talked about it for 1 month before it was introduced. Then we introduced it and it sat there for a month. And now today, after 2 months, we're going to table the bill. The state is not going to do anything until, number one, they convene in January. And then that'll be towards the end of Sine Die, somewhere in April or May. So, this was our responsibility to do something.
And we wanted
and we did.
to.
And we did.
We wanted to.
Well, motion to reconsider. Here, if we want to do it, we can reconsider the vote to table right now.
No, what you can do
Second.
is reintroduce it at a later time and we can all work on it.
Made a motion to reconsider. It was seconded.
What?
I made a motion to reconsider the vote to table the bill.
And I seconded.
What was that again?
I made a motion, since you said you want to pass the bill, I thought that it would be a good idea to make a motion to reconsider the tabling of the bill.
That's not what I said.
Second.
I said, I'm glad these are recorded. I said, you can have an opportunity to reintroduce the bill and we can all work on it. That's what I
But
said.
prior to that, well, I thought you wanted to pass a bill. I thought you said that at some point.
The way this bill is, this bill is impossible to pass. It's impossible to pass. For somebody to say this bill is okay the way that it's written, are you kidding me?
It bans chokeholds.
Pardon me?
It bans chokeholds.
It does.
It requires us not to hire police officers who came from other jurisdictions.
2 weeks, Councilman Jones.
I make a
I'm
motion to
aware what it
reconsider
said.
the vote to table the bill. I
We
like you.
already tabled the bill.
Second.
I'm making a motion to reconsider.
I'll second it.
Madam Chair,
Secretary?
a motion for consideration can only be made on something that is before the council. In other words, if a bill, resolution, or a motion or matter upon which the vote was taken is still in possession of the council. Bill 73-20 has been tabled, therefore it is no longer in possession of the council. It is figuratively and literally on the table. So there is no further action to be taken.
Madam
Thank you, Mr.
Chair,
Secretary.
Madam Chair, can it, and Mr.
The
Secretary,
council will now consider all physical matters. Extensive
I
testimony.
have a question, one question, Madam Chair.
We've moved on, Councilman.
If my amendments
We
would
have moved.
allow it to be reconsidered. The amendments that I filed, would that warrant a reconsideration of the bill?
You'd have to ask the secretary.
No, it would not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council has now considered all physical matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on July 28, 2020. The witnesses who testified at the work session are available to reinstate their testimony if needed. If a council member has any questions regarding a particular physical matter, that item will be discussed as a separate matter. I will now call upon the secretary to read the cover letter for fiscal matters 1 through 6.
Madam Chair, fiscal matter 1 is a purchase order, ICF Incorporated LLC. Fiscal matter 2 is an agreement with Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority. Fiscal matter 3 is a contract with Uber Technologies Incorporated. Fiscal matter 4 is a contract with Community Solutions Incorporated. Fiscal matter 5 is a contract with ITR Training Institute LLC. And fiscal matter 6 is a contract of sale with Eastern Point Properties LLC.
Are there any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1 through 6? I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1 through 6.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
I think this is a classic example of where the people were speaking and the council was not listening. So my answer is I believe this is a perfect example where the people are speaking and the council is not listening.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Where was I? Next item, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Next is,
I'm sorry, next item.
yes, ma'am. Next is correspondence before the council. Whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than a formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the council and the nature and parties to that contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following award. There are 12 such contracts this evening. And as they have been lately, Madam Chair and members of the council, they are, if not all, just about all, related to the COVID-19, the county's response. First is EMS Technology Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $225,520. Wait a minute. $620, I'm sorry. Next is Vapex Environmental Technologies, LLC, in the amount of $48,300. I'm sorry, gosh, $250,000. The third is with Edward G. Rall and Sons for produce related to COVID-19, $48,300. Edward G. Rall and Sons Incorporated, again, boxed produce COVID-19, $27,450. Edward G. Rall and Sons, boxed produce, COVID-19, $27,450. Edward G. Rall and Sons, produce, boxed COVID-19, $57,600. Next is Maryland Food Bank, boxed shelf stable food, COVID-19, $1,690,875. Next is Price Modern LLC for glassboard and other safety barriers, COVID-19, $138,182.87. Edward G. Rall and Sons Incorporated, boxed produce, COVID-19, $52,200. Brody Transportation Company Incorporated, truck and dry freight rental, COVID-19, in the amount of $208,550. ARV Enterprises Incorporated for trailer and RV rental, COVID-19, $42,487. And finally, Quest Diagnostics Incorporated for testing services, again, related to COVID-19, $200,000. So those are the 12 contracts, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Madam Chair, next is Resolution 68-20. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Marks to authorize the property tax refund to Stephanie Schwartz, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
It's my honor to move this resolution.
I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 68-20.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 68-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 72-20. This is a resolution submitted by the administration in order to rank the 5 rural legacy area plan applications.
I move the bill.
Have Megan Benjamin to testify.
No.
Megan, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of council. The administration is requesting the County Council approval of the prioritization of the 5 rural legacy areas submitted for state FY21 funding. The ranking order is Piney Run, Gunpowder Valley, Manor, and tied for 4th, Baltimore County Coastal and Long Green Valley. The county ranking will then go into be incorporated in the state ranking process.
Are there any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I move the bill.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 72-20.
Sorry, I muted myself. Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Resolution 72-20 is passed. Thank you, Ms. Benjamin. Mr.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman.
You know, I was sitting here thinking, and, you know, I was thinking,
Does this pertain to 72-20?
no, it may be some new number. I was thinking, with your permission, we can reintroduce that other bill tonight so we can have a vote on it next month. With your permission, we can reintroduce another bill tonight so that we can have a vote on it next month. That gives us a month to fix this bill, because I heard it today that you and Councilman Quirk and others really are interested in passing something. So with your permission, I don't think it's necessary for us to wait another month to introduce the bill. We can introduce it tonight with your permission.
Councilman Jones, with all due respect, I asked you to do that today. I asked you to do that very thing today when we left the training center. I asked you to withdraw the bill, reintroduce it, do the 65-day time frame on it so we'd have extra time to work on it. And what did you say? No. I asked you to do that today. Mr. Secretary, next item, please. Oh.
So the answer is no, you're not going to do it?
No, I asked you to do it this afternoon, and you dismissed it. You absolutely dismissed it.
Because I thought we had the votes to pass it.
Mr. Jones, we are on Resolution 73-20 for Mr. Marks. Mr. Secretary.
Resolution 73-20 is sponsored by Councilman Marks, and this is a resolution to amend the Perry Hall Community Plan.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to say?
Madam Chair, this amends the Perry Hall Community Plan so that when the DRP considers, the Design Review Panel considers new construction. It looks at various elements such as brickwork, light poles, building repurposing, etc. A lot of these were improvements that I received from the Perry Hall Improvement Association.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Don't you have an amendment to that, Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Yes, there is an amendment, Madam Chair. The amendments, it's one set of amendments. The amendments would just expound on some of the changes that were made as a result of the resolution. So some of those include brickwork, required brickwork, that parking be in the side or the back, that buildings meet height and area setbacks, similar to single-family homes, that other screening be included and things of that nature.
Thank you. So how many amendments are there? 2?
There are 7 total in the one set of amendments, but it's all one amendment, Madam Chair.
Okay, we could just vote on one amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If that's permissible for Mr. Marks.
That's fine.
Okay, thanks. Is there a motion to
Adopt the amendment.
move the amendment 7 for 7320?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to 73-20.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair. Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
The amendments to 73-20 have been passed. We can now vote on 73-20 as amended.
Yes, ma'am. Just awaiting a motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 73-20 as amended.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
He said aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
I'm sorry. And Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Where was I? I'm sorry. So 73-20 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 74-20. This is a resolution sponsored by council members Catch, Jones, Marks, Patoka, and Quirk. General Assembly, Governor, to recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday.
Yes, Madam Chair, when I was in the legislature, I did vote to recognize the Juneteenth, but at the time didn't realize that we did not make it a state holiday. And what this resolution does, it urges the governor and legislature to make it a state holiday. Juneteenth is the date that the Emancipation Proclamation ultimately applied to the entire nation, the United States of America and the former Confederate States of America. As part of the what was read and distributed, it says that there be absolute equality of rights. And I look at what's happening in our country today, and I see education as probably our biggest challenge. And when I think of education, I think of people who, they don't achieve their goals and dreams in life. However, I think the saddest thing is, because of a lack of education, et cetera, are those people who don't have goals and dreams to even achieve, try to achieve. So I again dedicate this resolution to us doubling down to improve education for all students in Baltimore County and over the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Patch. And I don't know if it was an oversight or not, but I wanted to be a co-sponsor of this resolution as well.
Could
Yes,
this be an
ma'am.
all-council bill? Who's left out? Oh, I don't mean to
Yeah.
single anybody. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Are there any comments or questions from the members?
Madam Chair, I would like to congratulate Councilman Catch for introducing the resolution. I thank you so very, very much. It was something that, you and I had discussed it before. I wasn't sure where the legislature was, but you took leadership on the issue, and I thank you very much.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution 7420?
I'll move it.
I'll second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 74-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 74-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 75-20. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Patoka entitled Support of County Executive Expansion of Baltimore County Work Group on Equitable Policing.
Are there any comments or questions from Mr. Councilman Patoka?
Madam Chair, if I could just say a few words on the intent of the bill.
Sure.
So on this resolution. This resolution expands the work group on equitable policing to include a youth representative from each councilmanic district. Over the past few months, I've attended or spoken at least half a dozen to a dozen Black Lives Matters rallies, and I think all of them were organized by young people. And so I believe that young people are interested in being part of the process, especially as it relates to equitable policing. And especially since Bill 7320 failed, I think it's important that we look at this resolution with even that is increasingly important, because this resolution will allow us to have that young voice that we need in policing, and each council representative will get to, council member will get to select a representative between the ages of 16 and 25 to serve on the equitable policing work group. Right now, that group consists of one community representative, one member of the NAACP. Councilman Jones represents us. Omar Rashid is the one student, the one young person. He's a proud second district resident who attends Pikesville High, but he's not going to attend Pikesville High anymore. He's going to George Washington University. We have a Board of Education representative, Colonel McCullough, Anthony Russell from the Blue Guardians, Scott Schellenberger, who we've heard a lot about tonight, John Skinner from Towson, Senator Charles Sidnor from the General Assembly, from the Fraternal Order of Police, David Rose, and Chief Melissa Hyatt from the Police Department, and Drew Vetter. So it's a group of very distinguished people, but I think it would serve Baltimore County well to add that young voice to this group. And just before this council meeting, I was speaking with BCY Speaks at their inaugural meeting. Baltimore County Youth Speaks. They're very supportive of this bill, of this resolution, I'm sorry, and I would ask that my colleagues support this resolution this evening.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yes, speaking in support of this bill, I think it's so very important that our police department have very good relations with young people in Baltimore County. And I think to have the input on this, is it a work group? The work group the county executive set up will be very advantageous to our police and to our county. I also want to pay tribute to Omar and the job that I know he did on the school board. I mean, and he's so impressive despite the fact that he's from the 2nd district. And I know that's a burden that he's able to deal with it. So I, again, appreciate the job that he's doing despite that issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 75-20?
So,
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Jones.
I just wanted to tell Councilman Patoka that I certainly appreciate him putting forth this resolution. I've attended a lot of those rallies with you, and we've seen the young people lead and demand change. And I'm reminded of so many issues throughout our nation where young people have stepped up and wanted to be heard and brought about a change. And I remember, I think I heard John Lewis, I'm not sure who said it, that sometimes as we get older, certain things are beat out of us. You know, we sort of lose the zeal. So I appreciate you bringing forth this resolution. I support it wholeheartedly that we add more young voices onto that equitable policing, because young people are standing up, demanding a change. And they deserve a seat at the table.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve? Did we already get one motion?
So moved.
Is there
Second.
a second? Mr. Second, oh, sorry about that.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second right there. You heard him?
I'm sorry.
You heard him? The
Oh,
second.
right.
Call the roll on Resolution 75-20.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 75-20 is passed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, item please.
Next, Madam Chair, is Resolution 76-20. This is a resolution originated by Councilman Marks, but is now sponsored by all council members, entitled Baltimore County Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance Task Force.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Mark.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of my colleagues for their support on this resolution, which would create a task force that will review the adequate public facilities ordinance, which regulates development in school districts. This is a long-needed process that we need to undertake. The amendments before you will make a few changes, mainly dealing with how the committee is staffed and who selects a few of the representatives. But I'd like to see the work of this committee done before the end of the year. This is a really pressing issue, and I again thank my colleagues for their support tonight.
Thank you. Are there amendments to this resolution?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. As Mr. Marks alluded, the amendments mostly deal with the composition of this task force. The task force under the amendments would consist of 8 members. There would be 1 representative of the county's planning department designated by the director. There would be a representative of the PTA council for the county. There would be a representative of the Baltimore County Board of Education designated by the chair of the Board of Ed. There would be a representative of the Maryland Building Industry Association, a representative from the League of Women Voters, a representative from the Teachers Association of Baltimore County, and a representative from the Council of Administrative and Supervisory Employees related to the school system. I believe those are mostly like principals and upper supervisory or management. And there would be a representative from the Office of the County Auditor who would be designated by the auditor, and the auditor's office would also provide technical support. So that's the composition, including the amendments, and people who are not specifically outlined as to how they would be designated or selected would be selected by the county council. And then at their first meeting, the members of the task force would select from their members a chair. And that is essentially the amendments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there a motion to approve the amendments to Resolution 76-20?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to Resolution 76-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Okay, the amendments pass. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 76-20 as amended?
I'll motion.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 76-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Sorry, thank you. Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 76-20 as amended has passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, next is a resolution 77-20 sponsored by Councilman Jones. This is a resolution to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Christopher Cox, who as a disabled veteran is entitled to a refund under state law.
Madam Chair, it is my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 77-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Resolution 77-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, next is Resolution 78-20. This is a resolution submitted at the request of the administration for the council's consideration of approving a continuation and extension of the state of emergency related to the initial executive order number 2020-002.
Thank you. Mr. James Benjamin?
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Here. Thank you. This is a resolution to further extend the emergency declaration that was issued on March 13th. The emergency declaration extended on July 6th is currently due to expire on August 8th. It is likely that the state of emergency will continue beyond August 8th, 2020, and so the resolution requests an additional extension of the state of emergency for a period of 35 days from August 8th, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 78-20? I'll move it.
Second.
Is there a second?
Mr. Quirk?
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 78-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Resolution 78-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, please,
We have two more items, Madam Chair, if I may. Both for introduction only this evening. We have Resolution 79-20. This is sponsored by a resolution sponsored by Councilman Crandall, entitled County Council Rules of Procedure, Publication of Roll Call Vote. And again, for introduction only this evening. And last is Resolution 80-20, sponsored by Councilman Marks. This is for the council's consideration of the continued review of a planned unit development known as Gerst Farm, for introduction only.
thank you. Mr. Secretary, is there any further business to come before the council?
There is no further business, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Stay safe.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We done? Public use of rule?